Hi. People ask, how come you have such a magnificent property in Italy?
This is quite a nice little story. Some 20 years ago or so, I was guest of a good old friend of mine who had property with a lot of olive trees on a hill near the Mediterranean Sea in northern Italy. And I was his guest, and he asked me, "Don't you want to become a neighbor of mine?" And I said, "Well, yeah, no, maybe." And then he said, "What place on this hill would be good for you? When would you say yes?" And we walked around this hill, and then I said, "Here, exactly in this place, I would buy property and have a house being constructed." After 6 weeks, a German-rooted Italian businessman who constructed houses and sold property, he contacted me and offered me a 5,000 square meter property with 100 olive trees and a permit to construct a house. And this was very interesting because he owned that property already and he just sold it to me. So we made a deal out of it, and he did all the work with the earth, had to be moved because it was on a hill and it was terraces, with the olive trees, with walls, so they don't slide down and everything. So it was a lot of work where earth had to be moved, and he did. And then I had my niece and nephew to design the house. They are famous architects living in Hamburg and working in Hamburg and in Berlin. So they designed the house. And this design was then realized by this gentleman. But this gentleman was quite a special person. And because he was a special person, and I knew that, I said, "I'm gonna pay you according to the progress that the house makes." And somehow in the middle of this process, he said, "I'm not gonna go on anymore. I'm not gonna do any work anymore." And I got a little angry on that, and when I'm getting angry. So I told him I'm gonna get angry and we are not gonna continue our cooperation anymore. And he said, we were kind of power playing. And he said, "Well, if you don't pay in advance, I'm not gonna continue." And then I said, "Okay, then you're not gonna continue, and then our cooperation is canceled." I cancel it. The nice thing was I owed him some money. And this was quite nice because I thought, well, okay, maybe he's gonna soften a little bit, but he didn't.
Now, what comes to my mind is this question. Did you learn anything out of experience with this German-rooted Italian businessman?
Most definitely, yes. I learned that it was right to not allow him to blackmail me, to leave our appointment, to leave our agreement. And I was so full of rage with him that I said, "I'm not gonna do what you want me to do," without knowing that this decision would put me in a position where I had no idea how I would have this house being constructed to the end, finishing. I had not a clue, not a single idea. And the interesting thing is, my gut feeling told me, don't continue with this guy. My gut feeling said this. And out of this gut decision came this opportunity during my voyage to Iceland on my yacht at that time, where all of a sudden, out of the blue, the solution presented itself out of nothing. And this was quite amazing to me. And this is very encouraging for anybody who is in a tough situation. I felt I was in a tough situation because to have a house being built halfway in Italy for a German citizen who doesn't speak the Italian language perfectly, it is kind of a tough nut to crack. And I didn't have to crack a tough nut. The solution presented itself. The how presented itself to me. And after basically 2 months, everything was done. 3 weeks later, I took my yacht and with a crew, we went from Germany to Iceland, going across the North Sea, going to the Atlantic, and I had a new crew member, a young man I didn't know before. And this young man and myself, we had night watches. And this night watch, on one of those night watches, we were kind of tired, and that's why we tried to find a issue, a theme, an object to talk about. And then he said, well, like this. And then I told about this stuck thing in Italy. And he said, well, I've got the solution for you. And I said, what? You have a solution? Yeah. He was a student in industry design. And he had a company with somebody who was able to construct houses, doing the work. And he had 3 guys. And he said, well, we're gonna fly to Italy. I take all the measures. We buy all the stuff that's required. And then we take a little truck and put everything in the truck and drive from Hamburg to Italy, to your place. And then they will finish the work.
With only 3 guys?
3 guys. And as we call it in Germany, the raw building was ready. So all the walls were done, and the stairs were done, all this. But nothing else, no details, nothing. So the nice thing about this gentleman was he had contact with a company that built furniture. And the most beautiful furniture I've ever seen. It was furniture of pure, solid oak. The table is that thick. That's approximately 8 centimeters, solid oak. The bunk and the stools next to the table, solid oak, like this. The beds, the cupboards, everything solid oak. And I said, yes, let's do it. And they put it in this truck, and with all the tiles and everything that we needed, it went to Italy. And after 6 weeks, the work was done. It was ready. And this gentleman, the German-rooted construction guy, businessman, he was like, wow, I didn't know you would be able to do that. Wow, he was really amazed. And after that, this is now roughly 20 years ago or so. And after that, the land was basically not developed. And my wife, she is a tough lady when it comes to gardening. And she has what we call in German 10 green thumbs. She knows how to do a garden really beautiful. And so she did, because this is her passion. And we created walls, you know, shaping the landscape, shaping all the terraces, as you might call them. We call them fascia in Italy. And everything is now beautiful. It's just like a park. And now we have this magnificent property over there that's available for people to rent this or to have meetings there. We are not now going to have a global information network, an unofficial global information network retreat over there. And, you know, there is this property, and all we can do with it is going places, I can tell you.
My name is Dr. Wulff, a leading expert in mindset transformation and personal success. By joining me, you will unlock proven strategies to elevate your mindset and transform your life. Explore more in the video description.